But I swear to holy God, that if you mention Frank Dodd's name, I'll come for you and I'll break your back. Understood?"
"Sure. My buddies from the press," Johnny shouted at him suddenly. "That's right. Didn't you see me answering all their questions? Posing for their pictures and making sure they got my good side? Making sure they spelled my name right?"
Bannerman looked startled, then hard again.
"Lower your voice." "No, I'll be goddamned if I will," Johnny said, and his voice rose even higher in pitch and volume. "I think you forgot who called who. I'll refresh your recollection for you. It was you calling me. That's how eager I was to get over here."
"That doesn't mean you're—" Johnny walked over to Bannerman, pointing his index finger like a pistol. He was several inches shorter and probably 80 pounds lighter, but Bannerman backed up a step, as he had done on the common. Johnny's cheeks had flushed a dull red. His lips were drawn back slightly from his teeth.
"No, you're right. You calling me doesn't mean shit in a tin bucket," he said. "But you don't want it to be Dodd, do you? It can be somebody else, then we'll at least look into it, but it can't be good old Frank Dodd. Because Frank's upstanding. Frank takes care of his mother. Frank looks up to good old Sheriff George Bannerman. Oh, Frank's bloody Christ down from the cross, except when he's raping and strangling old ladies and little girls. And it could have been your daughter, Bannerman. Don't you understand? It could have been your own
Bannerman hit him. At the last moment he pulled the punch, but it was still hard enough to knock Johnny backward. He stumbled over the leg of a chair and then sprawled on the floor. Blood trickled from his cheek, where Bannerman's Police Academy ring had grazed him. "You had that coming," Bannerman said, but there was no real conviction in his voice. It occurred to him that for the first time in his life he had hit a cripple, or the next thing to a cripple. Johnny's head felt light and full of bells. His voice seemed to belong to someone else, a radio announcer or a B-movie actor. "You ought to get down on your knees and thank God that he really didn't leave any clues, because you would have overlooked them, feeling like you do about Dodd. And then you could have held yourself responsible in Mary Kate Henderson's death as an accessory." "That is nothing but a damnable lie," Bannerman said slowly and clearly. "I'd arrest my own brother if he was the guy doing this. Get up off the floor. I'm sorry I hit you." He helped Johnny to his feet and looked at the scrape on his cheek. "I'll get the first aid kit and put some iodine on that."
"Forget it,"
Johnny said. The anger had left his voice.
"I guess I kind of sprang it on you, didn't I?"
"I'm telling you, it can't be Frank. You're not a publicity hound, okay. I was wrong about that. Heat of the moment, okay? But your vibes or your astral plane or whatever it is sure gave you a bum steer this time."
"Then check," Johnny said.
He caught Bannerman's eyes with his own and held them.
"Check it out. Show me I got it wrong."
He swallowed.
"Check the times and dates against Frank's work schedule. Can you do that?"
Grudgingly, Bannerman said, "The time cards in the back closet there go back 14 or 15 years. I guess I can check it."
"Then do it."
"Mister?" He paused. "Johnny, if you knew Frank, you'd laugh at yourself. I mean it. It's not just me. You ask anybody."
"If I'm wrong, I'll be glad to admit it."
"This is crazy," Bannerman muttered, but he went to the storage closet where the old time cards were kept and opened the door. 2 hours passed. It was now nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. Johnny had called his father and told him he would find a place to sleep in Castle Rock. The storm had leveled off at a single furious pitch, and driving back would be next to impossible. "What's going on over there?" Herb asked. "Can you tell me?"
"I better not over the phone, Dad."
"All right, Johnny. Don't exhaust yourself."
"No."
But he was exhausted. He was more tired than he could remember being since those early days in physical therapy with Eileen McGowan. A nice woman, he thought randomly. A nice, friendly woman. At least until I told her that her house was burning down. After that, she had become distant and awkward. She had thanked him, sure, but had she ever touched him after that? Actually touched him? Johnny didn't think so. And it would be the same with Bannerman when this thing was over. Too bad. Like Eileen, he was a fine man. But people get very nervous around people who can just touch things and know all about them. It doesn't prove a thing, Bannerman was saying now. There was a sulky little boy rebelliousness in his voice that made Johnny want to grab him and shake him until he rattled. But he was too tired. They were looking down at a rough chart Johnny had made on the back of a circular for used state police interceptors. Stacked untidily by Bannerman's desk were 7 or 8 cartons of old-time cards, and sitting in the top half of Bannerman's in-out basket were Frank Dodd's cards, going back to 1971 when he had joined the sheriff's department. The chart looked like this. The murders. Alma Frechette, waitress, 3 p.m., November 12, 1970. Frank Dodd, then working at Main Street Gulf Station. Pauline Toothaker, 10 a.m., November 17, 1971. Frank Dodd, off duty. Cheryl Moody, junior high school student, 2 p.m., December 16, 1971. Frank Dodd, off duty. Carol Dumbarger, high school student, November, 1974. Frank Dodd, 2-week vacation period. Etta Ringgold, teacher, October 29th, 1975. Frank Dodd, regular duty tours. Mary Kate Henderson, 10:10 a.m., December 17th, 1975. Frank Dodd, off duty. All times are estimated time of death figures supplied by State Medical Examiner.
No, it doesn't prove anything,
Johnny agreed, rubbing his temples.
but it doesn't exactly rule him out either.
Bannerman tapped the chart. When Miss Ringgold was killed, he was on duty.
Yeah, if she really was killed on the 29th of October. But it might have been the 28th or the 27th. And even if he was on duty, who suspects a cop?
Bannerman was looking at the little chart very carefully.
What about the gap? Johnny said. The 2-year gap.
Bannerman thumbed the time cards. Frank was right here on duty all during 1973 and 1974. You saw that.
So maybe the urge didn't come on him that year, at least so far as we know.
So far as we know, we don't know anything, Bannerman contradicted quickly.
But what about 1972? Late 1972 and early 1973. There are no time cards for that period. Was he on vacation?
No, Bannerman said. Frank and a guy named Tom Harrison took a semester course in rural law enforcement at a branch of the University of Colorado in Pueblo. It's the only place in the country where they offer a deal like that. It's an 8-week course. Frank and Tom were out there from October 15th until just about Christmas. The state pays part, the county pays part, and the U.S. government pays part under the Law Enforcement Act of 1971. I picked Harrison, he's chief of police over in Gates Falls now, and Frank. Frank almost didn't go because he was worried about his mother being alone. To tell you the truth, I think she tried to persuade him to stay home. I talked him into it. He wants to be a career officer, and something like the rural law enforcement course looks damn good on your record. I remember that when he and Tom got back in December, Frank had a low-grade virus, and he looked terrible. He'd lost 20 pounds. Claimed no one out there in cow country could cook like his mom. Bannerman fell silent. Something in what he had just said seemed to disturb him. He took a week's sick leave around the holidays, and then he was okay, Bannerman resumed, almost defensively. He was back by the 15th of January at the latest. Check the time cards for yourself.
I don't have to. Any more than I have to tell you what your next step is.
No, Bannerman said. He looked at his hands. I told you that you had a head for this stuff. Maybe I was righter than I knew. Or wanted to be. He picked up the telephone and pulled out a thick directory with a plain blue cover from the bottom drawer of his desk. Paging through it without looking up, he told Johnny, "This is courtesy of the same Law Enforcement Act. Every sheriff's office in every county of the United States." He found the number he wanted and made his call. Johnny shifted in his seat. "Hello?" Bannerman said. "Am I talking to the Pueblo Sheriff's Office? All right. My name is George Bannerman. I'm the County Sheriff of Castle County in western Maine. Yes, that's what I said, state of Maine. Who am I talking to, please?" All right, Officer Taylor. This is a situation. We've had a series of murders out here, rape, strangling, 6 of them in the past 5 years. All of them have taken place in the late fall or early winter. We have a... He looked up at Johnny for a moment, his eyes hurt and helpless. Then he looked down at the phone again. We have a suspect who was in Pueblo from October 15th of 1972 until, December 17th, I think. What I'd like to know is if you have an unsolved homicide on your books during that period, victim female, no particular age, raped, cause of death strangulation. Further, I would like to know the perpetrator's sperm type if you have had such a crime and a sperm sample was obtained. What? Yes, okay. Thanks. I'll be right here waiting. Goodbye, Officer Taylor. He hung up. He's going to verify my bona fides, then check it through, then call me back. You want a cup of... No, you don't drink it, do you?
No, Johnny said. I'll settle for a glass of water.
He went over to the big glass cooler and drew a paper cupful of water. Outside, the storm howled and pounded. Behind him, Bannerman said awkwardly, Yeah, okay. You were right. He's a son I'd have liked to have had. My wife had Katrina by cesarean. She can never have another one. The doctor said it would kill her. She had the Band-Aid operation, and I had a vasectomy. Just to be sure. Johnny went to the window and looked out on darkness, his cup of water in his hand. There was nothing to see but snow. But if he turned around, Bannerman would break off. You didn't have to be psychic to know that. Frank's dad worked on the B&M line and died in an accident when Frank was 5 or so. He was drunk. Tried to make a coupling in a state where he probably would have pissed down his own leg and never known it. He got crushed between 2 flat cars. Frank's had to be the man of the house ever since. Roscoe says he had a girl in high school, but Mrs. Dodd put paid to that in a hurry.
I bet she did, Johnny thought. A woman who would do that thing, that clothespin thing, to her own son. That sort of woman would stop at nothing. She must be almost as crazy as he is.
He came to me when he was 16 and asked if there was such a thing as a part-time policeman. I said it was the only thing he'd ever really wanted to do or be since he was a kid. I took a shine to him right off. Hired him to work around the place and paid him out of my own pocket. Paid him what I could, you know. He never complained about the wages. He was the sort of kid who would have worked for free. He put in an application for full-time work the month before he graduated from high school, but at that time we didn't have any vacancies. So he went to work at Donnie Hager's Gulf and took a night course in police work at the university down in Gorham. I guess Mrs. Dodd tried to put paid to that, too. Felt she was alone too much of the time or something. At that time, Frank stood up to her, with my encouragement. We took him on in July of 1971, and he's been with the department ever since. Now you tell me this, and I think of Katrina being out yesterday morning, walking right past whoever did it. And it's like some dirty kind of incest, almost. Frank's been at our house. He's eaten our food. Babysat Katie once or twice. And you tell me... Johnny turned around. Bannerman had taken off his glasses and was wiping his eyes again. If you really can see such things, I pity you. You're a freak of God, no different from a 2-headed cow I once saw in the carnival. I'm sorry, that's a shit thing to say, I know.
The Bible says God loves all his creatures, Johnny said.
His voice was a bit unsteady. Yeah. Bannerman nodded and rubbed the red places on the sides of his nose where his glasses sat. Got a funny way of showing it, doesn't he? About 20 minutes later, the telephone rang, and Bannerman answered it smartly. Talked briefly. Listened. Johnny watched his face get old. He hung up and looked at Johnny for a long time without speaking. November 12th, 1972, he said. A college girl. They found her in a field out by the turnpike. Nan Simons, her name was. Raped and strangled. 23 years old. No semen type obtained. It's still not proof, Johnny.
I don't think in your own mind you need any more proof, Johnny said. And if you confront him with what you have, I think he'll break down.
And if he doesn't? Johnny remembered the vision on the bandstand. It whirled back at him like a crazy, lethal boomerang. The tearing sensation. The pain that was pleasant. The pain that recalled the pain of the clothespin. The pain that reconfirmed everything.
"Get him to drop his pants," Johnny said.
Bannerman looked at him. The reporters were still out in the lobby. In truth, they probably wouldn't have moved even had they not suspected a break in the case, or at least a bizarre new development. The roads out of town were impassable. Bannerman and Johnny went out the supply closet window.
"Are you sure this is the way to do it?"
Johnny asked, and the storm tried to rip the words out of his mouth. His legs hurt. "No," Bannerman said simply, "but I think you should be in on it. Maybe I think he should have the chance to look you in the face, Johnny. Come on. The Dodds are only 2 blocks from here." They set off, hooded and booted, a pair of shadows in the driving snow. Beneath his coat, Bannerman was wearing his service pistol. His handcuffs were clipped to his belt. Before they had gone a block through the deep snow, Johnny was limping badly, but he kept his mouth grimly shut about it. But Bannerman noticed. They stopped in the doorway of the Castle Rock Western Auto. "Son, what's the matter with you?"
"Nothing,"
Johnny said. His head was starting to ache again, too. "It sure is something. You act like you're walking on 2 broken legs."
"They had to operate on my legs after I came out of the coma. The muscles had atrophied. Started to melt, is how Dr. Brown put it. The joints were decayed. They fixed it up the best they could with synthetics."
"Like the $6 million man, huh?" Johnny thought of the neat piles of hospital bills back home, sitting in the top drawer of the dining room hutch.
"Yes, something like that. When I'm on them too long, they stiffen up, that's all."
"You want to go back?"
"You bet I do. Go back and not have to think about this hellacious business anymore. Wish I'd never come. Not my problem. This is the guy who compared me to a 2-headed cow." "No, I'm okay," he said. They stepped out of the doorway, and the wind grabbed them and tried to bowl them along the empty street. They struggled